We were working on a land subdivision for a client a few months ago, and it just happened to be on this particular project that the neighbor was also doing a subdivision. And so my client came to me and said, "Hey, I talked to the neighbor, and we're doing 10-acre lots, and the neighbor's doing 5-acre lots, and I can make more money with 5-acre lots than 10-acre lots. Can we rezone the parcel to do smaller lots?" And so I wanted to put together a video that answered that question for other people that are doing land development, because it's a good question, and I wasn't upset that he asked the question. It was a good question. I'm glad he asked it, and we gave him a good answer, I think. This question, the general question is, can you rezone a parcel to create more lots or be able to build more building units? And the answer is yes. You can do that most of the time, but there's a catch. Okay, if there wasn't a catch, everybody would do that, right? So in this video, I want to explain what's the catch, because there's some trade-offs, and you have to weigh risk versus rewards, like many things in real estate. Okay, so before we explain the catch, let me answer a couple questions. I want to tell you, what do I mean when I say rezone, and why would you want more lots or building units in the first place? Okay, so when I say rezone in this video, what I mean is a change in the zoning that allows you to increase the density of the use of the parcel. Okay, so that's either smaller lots or more building units. Okay, more buildings or more building units. So it's one of the two. Okay, so that's what I mean by rezone. So for example, you might take a parcel from Ag 40 zoning to rural residential 5. Okay, so that means you go from 40-acre minimum lot size with agricultural land use to residential land use with a 5-acre minimum lot size, like a ranchette. Okay, so that's an example of the kind of rezone we're talking about. Or let's say you've got a parcel, it's got a 3-story height limit, and you rezoned it to take it to a 5-story height limit. Okay, that's another increase in the density, right? You're going to increase the number of building units you can get. So why would you want to do that? Why would you want denser use? Why would you want smaller parcels, land parcels or lots, or more building units or more square footage in your building? The reason why is because it increases the value of the development project, right? And I'm not going to go into huge detail about that in this particular video, but yes, as a general rule, as an example, if you have 10 5-acre lots, that's worth more than if you have 5 10-acre lots, as a general rule. Okay, or if you have 5 stories of apartments, it's worth more money than 3 stories of apartments. And part of the reason is because that allows you to spread out the fixed costs. So there's fixed costs, infrastructure costs, and other costs that come with any development project. And so if you can spread those across more units, your project becomes more profitable. So that's a great thing, right? As a general rule, you want to do lots as small as you can, or building as many building units as you can, as a general rule. There are exceptions to that. I'm talking as a general rule. So what's the catch then? If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? There's a reason why people hate zoning. Okay, so California, a change in zoning is, number one, not free. So there is a process that you have to go through, and that process costs money. You have to pay money to the county or city for the privilege of going through that process. You have to pay somebody like me to prepare the documents and understand the rules to get through that process, so it's not free. Secondly, that decision by the local agency to allow you to rezone is what we call discretionary, not ministerial. What does that mean in English? That means you can spend the money and then have your request denied. They don't have to give it to you, right? It's discretionary. There's politics involved. 3, the decision to rezone on a small set of parcels, either a single parcel or a small set of parcels, is often controversial. The neighbors tend not to like it. And so it can be hard to get a rezone done at a small scale. It's easier to do rezoning on a large scale. So what does that mean? That means there's a risk versus reward trade-off, right? Yes, a project will be more profitable typically if you rezone, if you do what we call upzone. If you can get denser use, you're going to make more money. But there's a risk that you could try and go through that process and spend your money and not get your upzone, not get your rezone, and then you've lost that money. So there's a risk there, right? And sophisticated, experienced developers understand that risk. So we've kind of got three scenarios. You have some projects, potential projects, that are profitable under the current zoning. So sometimes in that case, you use the zoning you got. Then there's other projects that could be profitable, more profitable if you rezoned and a rezone is feasible, but you got to go through the process and there's those trade-offs. So you can do that. That's a decision the client has to make, right? I can tell you about the risks and potential payoffs, but you have to decide. And then the third type of project is there are projects that are only profitable with the rezone. And so those are the riskiest type. They're the most dangerous. That's where you buy or acquire a piece of property and you want to develop it, but it can only be profitable if you get a rezone. So maybe it's Ag 40. You buy a 40-acre lot. You're not doing much with that unless you can get it rezoned, right? So or do something else to change the density. So those are the riskiest types of projects. So in conclusion, yes, you can rezone. In California, you can try it. Let me phrase it that way. Yes, you can try to rezone. Most cities and counties have a process that allow you to do that. You can do that to increase the number of lots or the number of building units or the square footage that you can get as part of a land development project. But there is a catch, right? There's a risk versus reward trade-off. And so you have to evaluate that trade-off and then decide as the developer or the client if the reward is worth the risk.